Kate, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who has been able to participate in the last almost 22 hours. We have 2 hours left to go. So we are officially almost 2 hours left of our 24-hour live stream, cover to cover up a public reading of the Epstein files from the Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein Reading Room in Lower Manhattan. This event is a collaborative effort from Save America Movement and the Institute for Primary Facts. Joining me now is former New York City Controller and congressional candidate Brad Lander. Brad is currently running for New York's 10th Congressional District. Brad, I will let you take it away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eliza.
Fellow Warren Democrat, you know?
Here,
Brad
here.
and I got to know
That's
each
when we
other
met.
as Elizabeth Warren surrogates in 2019. So,
Wow.
you know.
Eliza, this is remarkable what you are doing here. This filibuster to demand attention is extraordinary, but also to kind of share the mic with survivors, with lots of other folks.
It has been a blessing to have them and you.
So powerful, and I'm so impressed you're still on your feet. I don't know how you're doing
Barely.
that, but
Barely.
thank you, really.
Thank
We
you.
owe you guys a big debt of
Thank
gratitude.
you so much.
Thank you.
I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. It really is a very humbling honor to be here. I want to say thank you to the Institute for Primary Facts and the Save America Movement for organizing the Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein Reading Room, and I would urge people to come. This remarkable 24-hour filibuster is almost over, but the room will be here for a while more, and you can make an appointment and come yourself and look at the 3,734 volumes. There's a timeline of the Epstein horrors, and one remarkable thing about this moment is, in addition to the printed timeline, some of the survivors who have come and read over the last day or have seen the volumes have added handwritten notes, putting themselves onto that timeline. And the fact that folks are insisting on demanding accountability here is just what we need right now. And to me, that accountability is a few things. First, it's, of course, specific justice and accountability for the individuals who were harmed here. And that's what's in these volumes, and that is what the Justice Department needs to release the rest of the volumes and do the investigation to hold people accountable. Transparency is one step, justice is another, and you can feel the urgency when you're in this room and reading the notes on the walls. But it goes much bigger than that. There's systemic accountability that's needed of the Epstein class more broadly and the elite rot at the top of this society, and of course for systemic sexism and misogyny all throughout the society, not just with the elite rot at the top. And lo and behold, the survivors here are demanding justice not only for themselves, and I would urge you to check out World Without Exploitation and the other organizations that they have set up, but they are also demanding accountability and justice more broadly. And it's an honor, thank you, Eliza, for organizing this, to demand attention to it, to demand the release of the rest of the files, to demand accountability and justice for the survivors and the perpetrators of the crimes contained in these volumes, but also to fight for the kind of thoroughgoing reform that's needed to address both the corruption of the Epstein class and to confront violence and harm and misogyny in so many of the parts of our lives where we cannot let it become normalized. So thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in this remarkable filibuster. I think of this as a people's filibuster. Props to Senator Cory Booker, who did it himself in the well of Congress, but even bigger props, honestly, to Eliza Orlins for organizing this, for staying on her feet for 24 hours, and for making it a people's filibuster that demands justice. Okay, so I am reading emails, and the first one is sent Wednesday, May 5th, 2021, from redacted, sent Wednesday, May 5th, 2021, 8:29 a.m. to redacted, CC, redacted, USA, NYS, redacted, subject, RE, follow-up call. Thanks for the advance notice. We should definitely discuss particularly since there are rules about press contacts in our pending case that we're mindful of. 2:15 p.m. works for us. On timing, do you have a sense when you anticipate this happening? ? From redacted, sent Wednesday, May 5th, 2021, 10:21 a.m., 2 hours later. To redacted, CC, redacted, USA, NYS, redacted, subject, RE follow-up call. As an FYI, I am really calling to get the contact information for your PIO, since there will be reporting in our local news and my USA wants to make a statement. But we want to run this by you all and your PIO first. As for time, does 2:15 p.m. ET work for you all? If so, I can get a conference line set up for that time. H. From redacted, sent Wednesday, May 5th, 2021, 8:13 a.m. Subject, RE follow-up call. H. Since our whole team will join to keep everyone looped in, it would be helpful to schedule a call at a particular time. If possible, could we pick a time on Friday afternoon and use a conference line? Oh, this is what came before that 10:21 a.m. email. Thanks, redacted. From redacted, sent Wednesday, May 5th, 2021, 10:03 a.m. to redacted, CC, redacted, subject, RE follow-up call. Redacted, I will reach out on Friday shortly before 2 p.m. ET. What number should I call? Best, redacted. Sent Tuesday, May 4th, 2021, so the prior day, 7:11 p.m. to redacted, CC, redacted, USA, NYS, redacted, subject, RE follow-up call. Hi, redacted, hope you're doing well. We're free for a call on Friday anytime after 2 p.m. ET. Thanks, redacted. On May 4, 2021 at 5 p.m., redacted, all, please let me know when you have a moment to chat briefly about this matter. Thanks, redacted. From redacted, sent Monday, July 20th, 2020, so 10 months earlier at 4:55 p.m., to redacted, CC, redacted, subject, RE follow-up call. That's perfect. Thanks very much. You can call my cell phone at redacted, as I will likely be working remotely. July 20th, 2020, we understand why they were working remotely. That's not in the files. From redacted, Monday, July 20th, 2020, 6:54 p.m. to redacted, CC, redacted, subject, RE follow-up call. No worries about the delay. I know that it is especially difficult to keep all the balls in the air right now. I am fairly sure I am dropping some as I type this email. I can do a call on Thursday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Should I call the office number listed in your signature block below? From this whole email is redacted. Subject, RE follow-up call. Apologies for the delay, and thank you for following up. I am available for a call anytime after 1 p.m. Eastern or Thursday, 7:23. Please let me know if there's a convenient time for a call that afternoon. Thanks, redacted. But the individual is redacted. The signature block is here for the first time. Assistant United States Attorney, Southern District of New York, 1 St. Andrews Plaza, New York, 10007. So now we at least understand where these are coming from. From redacted, sent Monday, July 20th, 2020, 6:40 p.m. C2 redacted, CC redacted, subject, RE follow-up call. All. I am just following up on the below email request for a brief phone call. Please let me know when you have availability. Okay, now we're getting to what's actually here. From redacted, sent Wednesday, July 15th, 2020, 8:41 a.m. to redacted, CC redacted, subject, RE follow-up call. Greetings from DNM. Well done on the new indictment against Ms. Maxwell. We were pleased to see that conduct in New Mexico formed the basis of one of your overt acts. I know you are all very busy, but if you have a moment for a brief call to discuss the impact, if any, of the new indictment on seizure, forfeiture of Epstein's NM New Mexico property, I would appreciate it. As you are aware, this is an issue my U.S. Attorney, redacted, has asked me to track. Thanks, redacted. From redacted, sent Tuesday, November 19th, 2019. So now another 8 months earlier. Tuesday, November 19th, 2019, 1:59 p.m. to redacted, CC redacted, subject, RE follow-up call. That works, thanks. You can reach me at my desk. 212-637-2324. Someone could try that number and see who you get there today and ask them what they've done to follow up. Assistant United States Attorney, Southern District of New York, 1 St. Andrews Plaza, New York, New York, 10007. Sent Tuesday, November 19th, 2019, 3:58 p.m. to redacted, CC, redacted, and now one not redacted, and it's a public email. So Fife, F-Y-F-F-E, Brandon, USANM, bfife at usa.doj.gov. So after you try that phone number, you could try this email as well and ask Brandon Fife what we're doing to complete this investigation. Could you do a call in 30 minutes, 2:30 p.m. at Mountain Time, 4:30 ET, from redacted, sent Tuesday, November 19th, 2019, 12:03 p.m. to redacted, CC redacted, subject RE follow-up call. Hi, redacted. I'm happy to chat today if you're available in the next few hours. Otherwise, I could do later on Thursday. Thanks, redacted. Assistant United States Attorney, Southern District of New York, 1 St. Andrews Plaza, New York, 10007. And I guess it does just bear worth saying that's one example of just erratic redaction and non-redaction, and the privacy of a U.S. attorney's email and their phone number, not important. The privacy of survivors, important, but not, as you've heard, handled in a way that is consistent. From redacted, sent Tuesday, November 19th, 2019, 10:33 a.m. Subject, RE follow-up call. When you have a moment, can you let me know when we can conduct a call to discuss the reporting concerning Jane Doe 15? Subject, Jane Doe 15, in quotes, alleges Jeffrey Epstein raped her as a teen, referenced good friend Bill Clinton, CBS, Los Angeles, and then there's a URL link to an article on CBS News, https://losangeles.cbslocal.com /2019/11/18 Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Clinton, Gloria Allred, with hyphens between each of those names. Thanks, redacted. So now we start to have more clarity about what we're seeing here. From redacted, sent, now going back in time further, Friday, October 11th, 2019, 2:46 p.m., subject follow-up call. Receive, thanks very much, redacted. You're correct that we cover these topics during interviews, but it is helpful to keep in mind the information you are interested in as well. Best, redacted. Redacted, Assistant United States Attorney, Southern District of New York, 1 St. Andrews Plaza, New York, 10007. From redacted, send Friday, October 11th, 2019, 1:25 p.m. to redacted, subject RE follow-up call. When we last spoke, you expressed a willingness to review New Mexico-specific questions that we would like to be included in future interviews of Epstein victims. While I am certain that you already cover the pertinent questions, we did not want to turn down the invitation to submit a set of proposed questions, which I have attached. Right, then there's a whole bunch of blank pages. Unless I have a bad connection, and that's what's causing the blank pages. No. Right, maybe I have a bad connection. All right. I'm going to switch to the book because I don't see any more text on the pages I have here. Okay, so now I am returning to this volume, which has been, I think, read a few times by folks here. This is volume 3,113 out of 3,437 of the partially redacted Epstein files at the Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein Memorial Reading Room, as released by the Department of Justice of the United States of America, January 31st, 2026. Published by the Trumpsonian. Thank you to the Institute for Primary Facts and the Save America movement. And I will start reading on page 642 of this volume. From Jeffrey E., J-E-E, vacation at gmail.com. Sent Monday, August 17th, 2015, 3:58 p.m. to redacted, subject, RE, shipment from Paris. What time exactly is your flight? ? On Monday, August 17th, 2015 at 11:46 a.m., redacted, mail to Svetlana Po 314 equals gmail.com, wrote, will be delivered equals tomorrow. All the best, redacted, envoyé de mon iPhone. Below, all right, this information, and then below that email is a confidentiality message. This information contained in this communication is confidential, may be attorney-client privileged, may constitute inside information, and is intended only for the use of the addressee. It is the property of JEE. Unauthorized use, disclosure, or copying of this communication, or any part thereof is strictly prohibited, and may be... the word it comes across here, instead of what I think is supposed to be unlawful, is unawful. And it is most certainly awful. If you have received this communication in error, please notify us immediately by return email or by email to jeevacation@gmail.com and destroy this communication and all copies thereof, including all attachments. So worth noting, there was an effort to destroy and protect these communications because they knew it was a hideous criminal conspiracy, which is just one reason that it is important for us all to see. Page 643. From Jeffrey E., JEE, vacation@gmail.com, sent Sunday, August 16th, 2015, 1:30 a.m. Up to about 28,000 feet, the aircraft is limited by indicated airspeed, VNE. So say you can do 350 Kias at ground level. You can do that all the way up to 28,000 too. Above that, the limit is by Mach number, MMO. As you continue to climb, your indicated airspeed and your ground speed now decline as your Mach number remains constant. However, even though you are slowing down your engines are burning less and less fuel. Part of this is from the decreased IAS, but part is from the cold air. Colder air gives greater charge weight. It can be compressed more, and the engines get greater thermodynamic efficiency. Eventually, you reach the lowest clean IAS for your current weight, and that's as high as you are going. It doesn't make any difference how much power you could add. You still can't climb because to do so you would need to slow down or break up. And to slow down, you'd have to start deploying high lift devices, which increase drag and reduce efficiency. This is what's called the coffin corner. I think other things here could be called the coffin corner. Your engines are probably running near max power. You are near or at max speed, and you are just above the stall. And then the same note as below. From Jeffrey E., JEE, vacation@gmail.com, sent Thursday, July 28th, 2015, 5:27 p.m., to Leighton Allenby. Subject, RE. Does your iPhone have a case on it, or bear, ? Need for ATV protective case. If a case, I will need to measure. On Tuesday, July 18th, 2015, Leighton Allenby, redacted email, wrote, redacted, with the same privacy noting as I read before. From Jeffrey E., JEE, vacation@gmail.com, sent Tuesday, August 4th, 2015, 5:55 p.m. to Peter Attia. Subject, RE, are you in Burbank today? Yesterday, now on ranch watching filming of Western. On Tuesday, August 4th, 2015 at 1:27 p.m., redacted, a confidentiality notice, and the same privacy notice as below. From redacted, sent Friday, July 24th, 2015, 7:27 p.m. to Jeffrey E., subject, Justin Nelson. Please call Justin Nelson. He would like to speak with you. He also says he would like to see you the next time you are in New York. Justin says you can call him on his cell over the weekend as well. And then below that, a set of HTML gobbledygook. From Jeffrey E., jeevacation@gmail.com, sent Friday, August 7th, 2015, 6:28 p.m. to Kathy Rumeyer, subject RE: Can't wait to hear all the details. Travel safe. Go to spa on Tuesday or Wednesday before you decide when to come to the ranch. Wild animals, but jacuzzi, pools, massage facials, the truly rough life. On Friday, August 7th at 2:56 p.m., Kathy Rumeyer wrote, tried you on the bat phone. We killed something today, an old sick antelope called a sable, and it was merciful to kill her, but it was still sad. Leave here Monday and arrive in New York on Tuesday a.m. More concern with animals than with humans. The same privacy and confidentiality notices. From Jeffrey E., JEE Vacation, sent Wednesday, July 29th, 2015, 7:28 p.m. to Brad S. Karp. Is it possible for your contacts to, 1, get her current visa status, ? 2, is there a way for us to file something that would revoke a tourist visa? Okay, so this is the first one with a person that I have met in the files about getting visas and revoking them. Both grounds for exploiting human beings in all likelihood, or certainly in some likelihood. Okay, the privacy, same privacy and confidentiality notes before. From Jeffrey E., jeevacation@gmail.com, sent Sunday, August 2nd, 2015. Flight time to San Fran. I want to arrive around 12 to 12:30. Same confidentiality notice. From Redacted, send Sunday, August 9th, 2015, 2:35 p.m. to Jeffrey E., subject RE. 1, no, because I was still working on it when I left. 2, no, he stayed in Geneva. 3, no work talk at all. 4, yes, of course, need dates, sent from my iPhone. On August 9th, 2015 at 3:02 p.m., Jeffrey E., jeevacation@gmail.com, mailed to, and the questions that were being answered in that email. Did the agreement get signed? Is Ben there? Any discussion or REU as next trustee? Without any special effort, is there a way for 3 friends to get on the ordinary list for a White House guided tour? They are giving the public tours again. How does it work? Be happy they don't speak English. You can rest your mind. On Sunday, August 9, 2015 at 12:21 a.m., Redacted wrote, looking forward to English speakers too. Sent from my iPad on August 8th, 2015, Jeffrey E. wrote, seriously want to put your clothes straight to the cleaners and laundry. Drink plenty of water on the way west. I hope you have lots of photos to accompany your stories. On Friday, August 7th, 2015 at 11:37 p.m., Redacted wrote, you think I need to be sanitized after Africa? ? So this is where they were coming from. So grateful to get back to a place where you could speak English and go to the White House and joke about whether you'd need to be sanitized after a trip that evidently a rich person chose to take to Africa. The casual dehumanization and sexism and racism coming through on many a page. Can't wait to hear all the details. Travel safe. Go to spa on Tuesday or Wednesday before you decide when to come to the ranch. Wild animals, but jacuzzi, pools, massage facials. The truly rough life. Then a repeat of what I read before. We killed something today. An old sick antelope called a sable, and it was merciful to kill her, but it was still sad. I leave here Monday and arrive in New York on Tuesday. Sent from my iPad. And then the same confidentiality findings 5 times repeated. From Larry Visosky, lvjet@aol.com, sent Tuesday, March 27th, 2018, 5:27 p.m., sent to Jeffrey E., subject R.E. Heli, I assume helicopter. Okay, great. 5 p.m. confirmed, sent from my iPhone on March 27th, 2018 at 1:23 p.m. Jeffrey E., jeevacation@gmail.com, wrote 5. On March 27th, 2018 at 1:18 p.m., Larry Visosky wrote, Jeffrey, STT Customs wants us inside the building by 5:45 p.m. Should I pick you up on LSJ at 5:15 p.m.? Thanks. Larry, just a casual arranging of what time the helicopter will come pick you up. Same confidentiality notice as below. Page 656, from Redacted. Sent Wednesday, March 28th, 2018, 7:05 p.m. to Jeffrey Epstein, subject Dr. Watson. Doesn't say I presume, but Dr. Watson wants to make sure you know you were invited to his 90th birthday party on April 6th. Pianist Emmanuel Axe will play, and then everyone will go into a large tent for supper. He says he invited Barnaby Walsh as well. Dr. Watson would be very pleased if you could attend. He says he needs good-hearted people, and you are one of them, in parentheses. He is also celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary and says he is playing tennis again. Please advise how I should respond to the invitation to Dr. Watson's 90th birthday party on April 6th. You will be in Paris. All right. This is actually more emotional than I expected to read these and to be in this room where there are survivors who are also grappling with this material, and to read those emails, which include U.S. attorneys, staff across the country asking questions about that make clear there wasn't that much coordination between the folks that were interviewing survivors, even as they were uncovering abuse, sexual abuse, assault, corruption at the highest levels of society, the very highest levels. And then just a set of casual rich people on safari, but joking about how they would need to be sanitized when they got back from their safari on Africa, even while talking about how sad they were about the sable that was killed. Casual conversations about getting picked up in helicopters. And casual conversations about procuring visas and revoking tourist visas, something that the Trump administration is doing right now on the regular to deport people who have done nothing wrong, and something Epstein and his cronies did in order to traffic women and hold them in fear that those visas could be revoked and they could be sent back to wherever they came from. That's just in a small handful of the emails, but I know some things I want investigated out of these emails that I don't believe have been investigated. I know some things I want changed in our society that have not been pushed for change. So thank you again to the Institute for Primary Facts, to the Save America movement, to Eliza Orlins, to the survivors, to everybody who is reading in this 24 hours, to everybody who is listening, to everyone who is paying attention. What they are counting on is that you'll stop paying attention, because horrors are happening all over the place right now. But sometimes when we pay attention, change can happen. Last night, actually, a federal district court judge stayed immigration courthouse arrests here in New York because people fought back and demanded it. And a lie that ICE told a year ago got exposed and change got made. And what's happening here today is to insist on accountability and justice. Thank you to Eliza and to everybody who's making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck. Next. How long you got to go now?
We've got about 90 minutes left.
Oh my God. All right. You're almost there.
Yeah.
All right. Good luck.
And fuck ICE.
Fuck ICE.
Yeah.
Here,
Fuck
here.
ICE. Sorry. I mean, listen,
No,
we've been at this for 22 and a half hours. I have no filter left.
No.
And I would say that anyhow.
No, I mean, they've known for a year.
Yeah.
This only got ordered yesterday. They've known for a year they do not have the authority for courthouse detention.
Exactly.
But they have detained tens of thousands of people, kept them for months, deported some of them, tortured some of them. Some of them died.
Exactly.
Fuck ICE.
Fuck ICE.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. So we are entering the final 90 minutes of our 24-hour live stream. I can't believe it. We are 22 and a half hours in. I want to pause for a second and just say what that means. For almost an entire day, I started here yesterday at noon kicking this off with the survivors, but for almost an entire full day, people have been reading these files out loud, in public, on the record, because these documents should not be buried in a database, dumped into the world in random order as you've seen, and ignored. This has been exhausting. It has been heavy. It has been upsetting. You've seen multiple people break down in tears on this stream if you've been watching the whole time, but it has been unbelievably necessary. And even after this 24 hours is up, we are still not going to look away, and we're not going to let anyone else stop paying attention. So if you are watching this right now, this is the moment to help bring us home. Share the stream, text the link to someone, post it, tell people we are in the final stretch. We are going until noon, maybe a few minutes after, but we have 90 minutes left. We are still here, we are still reading, and we are not looking away. I am rejoined now by the wonderful executive director of the Save America movement, with whom I have been collaborating on this entire thing. This would not have been possible without them. Mary, you are unbelievable. Thank you for everything you have done, and thank you for getting back on here and, helping bring this home.
Thank you, Eliza. 24 hours.
Oh my God.
I mean, we're making it happen.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to start off by reading and then close out with a couple of remarks. Okay. Oops. Oh, where'd it go? Sorry. Okay. Oh, thank you. Apologies. Where'd it go? Okay. Unclassified Federal Bureau of Investigation crisis intake, case ID, regarding Epstein Jeffrey child sex trafficking, drafted by Redacted. Date received 8/8/2019. Details. On Redacted, at Redacted EST. Date of birth, Redacted. Cellular telephone number, Redacted. Called the FBI National Threat Operations Center to report being sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein and other powerful men in New York. Redacted provided the following information. Redacted was modeling in 2015 at the age of Redacted when she met Epstein. She attended parties at Epstein's residence in New York. During one of the parties, Epstein asked Redacted to take a tour of Redacted. Once Redacted, Epstein asked to take off her panties. When she didn't comply, he said, quote, "It's fine, I'll pay you $500, end quote. Redacted complied because she thought he was a very important person. In 2016, Epstein, quote, slid his fingers up her dress and, quote, fingered her. At one of the parties, two twin brothers, Redacted and Redacted, who were involved in real estate, lured Redacted and her friend, Redacted, upstairs and locked the door. Redacted, quote, knocked the door back open, and the two men ran back downstairs. Redacted stated Redacted raped Redacted, and Redacted raped a 14-year-old girl named Redacted and tried to slit her wrist after the incident. Redacted also met three women in the, quote, parlor room of Epstein's home. One woman she recognized as Epstein's, quote, British socialite. The woman would find young girls to have sex with Epstein. Epstein liked younger girls that were clean-shaven with small breasts. Redacted also went to his St. Thomas Island, which he referred to as St. Jeffrey. Epstein and other powerful men including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, would have, quote, big orgy parties with her, other young girls, and older Victoria's Secret models. Redacted was offered to be paid off by a lawyer associated with the Epstein case. Redacted is friends with Redacted. That's when the lawyer offered to pay, quote, a couple grand to, quote, silence her. Redacted is terrified they might, quote, put out a hit on her, and they know where she lives. Redacted had contact with Epstein from 2015 to 2019. Last contact was redacted ago. Redacted was also contacted by one of Epstein's clientels, redacted before his arrest, asking her to meet up with Epstein. Redacted can be contacted on her cellular telephone for questioning. Please see below with criminal history and deposition. I am reaching out to get clarification on the responses. Redacted. Name. Redacted. Complaint summary. Redacted reported an unidentified female friend who was forced to perform oral sex on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told Redacted that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old when this happened, and the friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing oral sex. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting President Trump. The friend said she was also abused by Epstein. Response: spoke with caller who identified Redacted as friend. Lead was sent to Washington office to conduct interview. Donald Trump, the president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called Calendar Girls. Jeffrey Epstein would bring the children in, and Trump would auction them off. He measured the children's vulva and vaginas. The guests were older men. We were taken into rooms. I was 13 years old when Donald J. Trump raped me. Ghislaine Maxwell was also present. Response: no contact information provided. Criminal history: no DOB. Complaint summary. Complainant reported her neighbor sought modeling gigs at the Trump Modeling Agency in NYC between the years of 1998 and 2000. Complainant reported neighbor allegedly went on cruises set up by a recruiter or head of the agency, and once showed complainant a photo of the recruiter whom complainant recalled looking like Epstein. Complainant reported neighbor was allegedly raped several times during this time period. Response: contact was made, but no contact information provided for actual victim. Criminal history: none. Complainant history. Complainant following up after a call with NYPD officer regarding her previous tip, reporting that she was forced to perform sex acts when she was 13 years old and pregnant in 1984. Complainant also reported there were high-profile individuals involved in her sex trafficking and the murder and disposal of her newborn daughter. Complainant reported Donald Trump participated regularly in paying money to force her to perform sex acts with him, and alleged Trump was present when her uncle murdered her newborn child. Response: no contact made. Criminal history: none. Just for clarity, these are summaries of complaints that were provided to various authorities, and then what the response was in terms of investigating them, just to be clear. Let's see. When complainant was 14 years old, Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly approached her about modeling, international travel, and massages. Complainant never reached out to Maxwell because the offer sounded as if it was mostly based around modeling, and complainant was unable to do it because of redacted. Complainant reported meeting a Lisa at a hospital where they were roommates in 2000, who now goes by redacted. Complainant was invited by redacted to a party on Palm Beach Island, Florida, to a residence she believes to have belonged to Epstein. There she met a model scout named Redacted, who Redacted allegedly referred to as a pimp. Complainant stated Redacted spoke with a hostess at the residence, whom complainant believed to be Ghislaine Maxwell. While at this party, complainant stated they had all been invited by Donald Trump to a party at Mar-a-Lago. Complainant told Redacted she wanted to go to that party and was allegedly told by Redacted that it was for prostitutes. The response, spoken with twice. First time she was a Pilates instructor and went to Epstein's once. Claimed she would send email to corroborate. No email was received. And then the response, the criminal history is redacted. Caller, the complainant, name redacted. Caller reported that in 1987, a friend, Victim 1, was out drinking and ended up at Trump Plaza. Victim 1 saw Donald Trump and wanted to meet him. An unknown man approached her and offered to introduce her to Trump. The unknown man gave Victim 1 a drink, and Victim 1 woke up naked and sore with $300 on the bed. Victim 1 didn't remember how she got to the room. She remembered seeing a flash of Trump's face. Victim 1 called the caller and told her she thought she had been raped. Victim 1 did not go to a hospital to have a rape kit performed because she didn't think anyone would believe her, especially because she was drunk. Victim 1's husband's business had problems with suppliers. Victim 1's husband's business had problems with suppliers, and Victim 1 believed Trump was behind it. Victim 1 also started dating a lawyer, identifiers unknown, who was married. Victim 1 had a fight with her lawyer boyfriend and went to a bar. Victim 1 left a bar with a man with no one who in the bar recognized but seemed familiar with Victim 1. Victim 1 was never seen again. A few years ago, remains were discovered that matched the description of what Victim 1 was wearing when she went missing. DNA tests at the time were inconclusive. The response was no contact made. Victim identified as deceased. From Redacted, date Wednesday, June 24th, 2015 at 1:25 p.m. To Jeffrey E. Oh my God, I cannot believe that what you said now. Thank you so much. I will try to imitate positions in the photos you sent also. After a few tries, I feel much more comfortable than before. Now it's really easier for me. My bank account details are redacted. From Jeffrey Epstein to redacted. Send your bank account details. I will send you €1,000 to help with the cost of the photos. My gift. From Jeffrey Epstein to redacted. If your friend is listening or watching, I want the truth. It's the only thing I care about. You are not telling me the truth. If you are not telling me the truth, we cannot be friends. It's very important. From redacted to Jeffrey Epstein. Still have stars in my eyes from what we saw at Leon's house. I'll text you as soon as you finish. From Jeffrey Epstein. You are welcome to come back after your interview. Email me. Let's see. From Jeffrey Epstein. Only go to Greece if you feel well. I just had to send my plane to bring another lefty friend back from Athens to see a doctor in New York. From Jeffrey Epstein to redacted. I would like to get an agreement, though I know the logistics are complex, before the DOJ meeting, which is now set for August 27th. Ariane suggested it. Would you and redacted go to Luxembourg for a review? Is there anyone else you would bring? From redacted to Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. From Jeffrey Epstein. Her name is redacted. From redacted. Okay. To ask for redacted. He is the head scout for Europe. I work fast. Faster than you. Can you say Harvard 2019? From Jeffrey Epstein. She's not that interesting, but she is the sister of a great friend. Some of these are quite out of context. From Jeffrey Epstein. You're welcome to come, of course, if you want to visit. Only issue is that redacted is flying out with me, and I'm reading redacted and the boy there on Sunday morning. I had a long talk with Ted about your boy's behavior, he asked. Okay. I think I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. That's what I'm going to do. Okay? I'm going to get this other book. Okay. Couple more minutes? Okay. Okay. So, and I just wanted to say a quick something before I finish up. Should I do that now? Okay. I just wanted to wrap up. This is Mary. I'm the ED of the Save America movement, and I just want to say a couple words before we go to the last chapter of this 24-hour Epstein files filibuster. Just a couple words. So the last 24 hours have been hard. We have given voice literally to graphic scenes of child rape, extortion, trafficking, and the extraordinary efforts taken to cover up these crimes against humanity by the most powerful men in the world. Survivors, several of which will close us out in a moment, gave their testimony, and in doing so, delivered radically brave truth to power. Every person owes every single one of them a significant debt of gratitude. Your willingness to speak is an extraordinary generosity to all of us and for all of us and for our daughters, that they may never face these horrors. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. There have been a lot of tears in the last 24 hours, but also streaks of joy, hope, laughter, strength, community, and fierce, fierce resolve that these heinous enterprise-level crimes will not go unaddressed. The moral imperative to release the Epstein files in full and ensure justice is served wherever investigations lead is not a political issue. It is something every person with any resemblance of a moral compass can agree on. The only people who want to keep these files hidden are those that have something to hide. Why is this so difficult to understand and act on? That's what the last 24 hours have been about. A filibuster stops time. It holds space for focus, reflection, and renewed resolve. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you, and also thank you, Eliza, for this idea and doing it for 24 hours, and that's all.
We really are nearing the end of this 24-hour live stream reading of the Epstein files. If you're just joining, I'm Eliza Orlins, career public defender for 15 years in Manhattan. And we started this stream with survivors, and we will end it with survivors because this story isn't over until the folks in the files say that it is. For 15 years as a public defender in Manhattan, I sat in courtrooms watching the system work exactly as designed for people with money and power, and exactly the opposite for everyone else. I watched teenagers get years in prison for things rich men in this city did on weekends. I watched prosecutors fight to keep my clients locked up over $20 and then walk into a different courtroom and ask a judge to downgrade Jeffrey Epstein's sex offender status. That is not an aberration or a glitch. That is the way the system is designed. This story isn't over until every single abuser who used money, power, and privilege to avoid accountability faces justice, and every survivor who's been silenced has their voice heard. And we're not just talking about Jeffrey Epstein, not just Ghislaine Maxwell, but every name in these files, every enabler, every lawyer who buried these complaints, who gave sweetheart deals to people, every prosecutor who looked the other way, every powerful friend who flew on that plane and pretended they didn't see what we all knew they saw. The women you're about to hear from did not have to come forward. They owe us nothing. They are doing this because they refuse to let these files become another sealed box in a basement. They are doing this so that the girls who come after them don't have to do it alone. We are ending this 24-hour live stream with these voices now. Liz Stein, Lisa Phillips, Andrea Sterling, Marina Lacerda, and Alva Johnson. Listen to them, believe them, carry what they say with you when you leave. Liz, we're going to begin with you.
My name is Liz Stein. I met Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell when I was a senior in college, just 21 years old, in 1994. I want to read two things that are really important to me. One is two different copies of my FBI intake form, both with improper redactions. And the second is my victim impact statement that I read at the sentencing of Ghislaine Maxwell, because I don't think that people really understand what the impact of this has been on our lives, and they need to. Unclassified, Federal Bureau of Investigation intake, drafted by Alkier Bethany. Time, date received, 9/23/2021, 9:58 a.m. Details. On 9/23/2021 at 9:58 Eastern Time, redacted, cell phone number redacted, called the FBI National Threat Operations Center to report additional information concerning possible victim of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell in New York, New York. Stein provided the following information. Stein was a victim of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell in New York in the mid-1990s. Redacted, met Maxwell and Epstein in approximately 1994. Redacted was a student at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. Redacted also worked at Henry Bendel at Fifth Avenue, which is owned by the CEO of The Limited. Stein met Maxwell as a client working there. They say Redacted met Maxwell, the two became friends, and Redacted delivered Maxwell's packages to the St. Regis Hotel. Redacted was introduced to Epstein there and was assaulted there. Maxwell said her boss was friendly with Mr. Wexner, and she wanted Redacted to meet him. When Redacted arrived at the hotel, the concierge told Redacted to go to the bar because Maxwell wanted her to meet someone. Maxwell used the terms boyfriend and boss sometimes like they were separate people and sometimes like they were the same person. Redacted had a drink and the concierge said her room was ready. Redacted was confused. That night, Redacted brought packages in the room and was assaulted. At some point, Epstein went into the bathroom and put on a bathrobe. Maxwell and Epstein made out and tried to get Redacted to join. Redacted felt pressure to join in. Redacted got freaked out by the situation and exited the hotel to meet her boyfriend without being raped. After that night, weird things happened at work. Redacted was offered a position created out of thin air. At the time, Redacted wanted to go to law school, and taking that job would mean that she had to leave school one semester short of getting her degree. Redacted said no. Maxwell had something to do with the position and was upset that Redacted did not take it. Redacted quit her job at Henry Bendel after graduation and worked for a clothing manufacturer at Bloomingdale's. Maxwell showed up looking for Redacted and found her. Maxwell pushed a friendship with Redacted, who was first assaulted in 1995. Redacted was assaulted a second time at a New Year's Eve party at a hotel. Redacted did not know the date or time of the third assault. Redacted directly called 3 main assaults. After the second or third assault, Redacted completely dissociated. Epstein and Maxwell convinced Redacted to dump her boyfriend, go to a New Year's Eve party, and got raped by Epstein, Maxwell, and her date. Redacted ran out of the hotel in just her evening gown to get away from them. Maxwell and Epstein found Redacted again a couple weeks later. In January 1996, Redacted went to Florida with Maxwell and Epstein at their request and was raped by them and several of their friends. When Redacted got back from Florida, Maxwell and Epstein trafficked her to their friends under the guise of setting her up with their friends. Redacted involvement with Maxwell and Epstein ended in late 1996 or 1997 when she had a nervous breakdown. Redacted moved 3 times to get away from Maxwell and Epstein. So I think that this file in particular points out not only what we're seeing as far as improper things that have been improperly redacted, but also when we hear the DOJ say that there are no investigative leads, this is an investigative lead. This was an FBI intake form that they never followed up on, in which my information is included in a sentence that said Stein was a victim of Epstein and Maxwell. There's a second copy of that document in the files, and I won't reread the entire thing. But in the details, although my name has been redacted, my zip code at the time was unredacted. So part of my identifying information was unredacted in a second copy of that intake form. The next thing that I want to read for you is something that I have not read in several years. It was my victim impact statement from Ghislaine Maxwell's sentencing, and it's difficult for me to read, but important for me to read. Victim impact statement of redacted to be read at the sentencing of Ghislaine Maxwell. I came to New York in 1991 at the age of 18 to attend FIT and immediately began to excel academically. While at FIT, I took advantage of different volunteer opportunities and internships in the fashion industry to provide a foundation for my career. In my sophomore year, I accepted a Christmas-time internship at Henry Bendel, New York. I performed well and was asked to stay on as a part-time employee. I worked at Henry Bendel until graduation. In the fall semester of my senior year at FIT, Ghislaine Maxwell came into the store where she was a frequent customer. Her usual salesperson wasn't there, so I helped her. Ghislaine was electrifying, and we hit it off immediately. In this first meeting, we spoke of our mutual love of fashion, of difficult fathers and formal upbringings, of boyfriends, and how we both saw New York as a chance to start over. She told me that her boss, who I later came to understand was Jeffrey Epstein, was close friends with Les Wexner, the CEO and founder of The Limited, which owned Henry Bendel at the time. When she completed her purchases, I offered to deliver them to her so she didn't have to carry them around all day. This was a courtesy I frequently extended to high-end clients. Later that day, I called her office for delivery instructions and was told to bring them to the St. Regis Hotel. When I arrived, the concierge told me Ms. Maxwell was in the bar and wanted me to meet someone. It was Jeffrey Epstein. That night in the hotel was the first of many times they sexually assaulted me. Afterwards, I tried to pretend like everything was normal. I returned to my classes at FIT and continued to work at Henry Bendel, but I started to crack. I failed a course that was necessary for my degree and had to retake it to get my diploma. Shortly after my first meeting with Epstein and Maxwell, I was offered a full-time position at Henry Bendel. It was a newly created position at the store, and it would have required me to leave FIT a semester short of completing my degree. I had aspirations of going to law school, and I knew I could not do so without my undergraduate degree, so I declined it. When Ghislaine found out, she flew into a rage. I didn't really understand why until she told me that she and Epstein were responsible for giving me that opportunity, and that in turning it down, I was being ungrateful to them. I now know this was their modus operandi, to give a gift or a favor and then demand sex in return. Nevertheless, I completed my coursework, got my degree, at which point I left Henry Bendel and took a position at Bloomingdale's. I wanted to leave Epstein and Maxwell and the abuse they perpetrated against me behind as I started my professional life. I never wanted or expected to see them again. One day in the fall of 1995, Maxwell showed up at Bloomingdale's looking for me. When I asked her how she knew where I was, she said my colleagues at Henry Bendel had told her. She immediately began befriending me once again, asking me to go out socially. I tried to resist, but eventually she wore me down, and I began spending time with them again. They made me feel like they were my friends, my contemporaries. In one instance, they took me to Florida, insisted that I stay longer than planned, which caused me to miss work and led to me being fired. Seizing on this new vulnerability, they trafficked me to their friends. By that time, I was trapped. I was assaulted, raped, and trafficked countless times in New York and Florida during a 3-year period. At one point, I became pregnant, by whom I am unsure. Things happened that were so traumatizing that to this day I'm unable to speak about them. I don't even have the vocabulary to describe them. In the most literal sense of the word, Epstein and Maxwell terrified me. They told me that if I told anyone that nobody would believe me, and if they did, they would kill me and the people closest to me. I believed them. I was once bright, fun, outgoing, and kind. I loved life, and people genuinely enjoyed being around me. After meeting Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, it felt like someone shut off the lights to my soul. My secrets became too much for me to handle, and I began doing whatever I could to try to get away from them. I changed jobs, apartments, cities, and even states to try to get away. Everywhere I went, they found me. In 1997, I moved to Philadelphia with the hopes of finally starting law school. They found me again, and it was more than I could take. I was hospitalized with a nervous breakdown. It would be the first of over 24 hospitalizations in the decades following my involvement with Epstein and Maxwell. In addition to my escalating mental health problems, I began to experience physical symptoms that doctors could never quite put their finger on. I received dozens of diagnoses, but nothing ever quite fit. I could no longer even pretend to be able to hold down a job or take care of myself in any meaningful way, and I had to move home once again. I had cracked, and nobody thought I would ever get better, but I did not give up. I was determined to do whatever I had to prove everyone wrong. I wasn't crazy, I was hurt. For over a decade and a half, I went to all kinds of medical specialists and was in and out of medical and psychiatric hospitals, having tests and procedures, even submitting to clinical trials and an experimental implantable medical device. Nothing helped. In 2007, I moved back to Philadelphia to try to start my life once again. I began working as a paralegal and started prepping for the LSATs. I found a psychiatrist, physician, and therapist who were willing to help me to get to the bottom of things. I had tried almost every psychological intervention in my efforts to get better, but my new psychiatrist suggested I try something I had not before, dialectical behavioral therapy. Just as I began to repair the emotional damage, I was diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome and was primarily bedbound for over a year. CRPS is a rare neuroinflammatory disorder characterized by intense, relentless physical pain. Both CRPS and PTSD are psychophysical states in which the sympathetic nervous system is engaged and remains inappropriately hyper-aroused. There is no cure. The mind and body are interconnected. But despite all this, I immersed myself in DBT and repaired my emotional health. I began physical therapy and regained my physical mobility, and I started to rebuild my life. The arrests of Epstein and Maxwell in 2019 and 2020, respectively, helped me immensely. For the first time, I was finally able to disclose their abuse to close friends and medical providers. 25 years after meeting them, my experience was validated. I could finally see the possibility of closure. This past November and December, this was during the Maxwell trial, I commuted almost every day from my home in Philadelphia to attend Ghislaine Maxwell's trial in Manhattan. For weeks, I sat in the courtroom anonymously, only revealing my identity the day before the verdict. I had to see justice for myself. At the age of 48, I feel as if I'm just starting my life. All of those things I assumed I would have in life, the things that my siblings and friends have achieved, a career, success, a partner, a family, a home, and a legacy to be proud of leaving behind, were jeopardized for more than 2.5 decades. The only pronounced difference between my life experience and theirs is that one day, while I was doing my job, I met Ghislaine Maxwell, who fed me to Jeffrey Epstein. In more ways than one, they almost killed me, but I wasn't going to let them. Overcoming what happened to me became my decades-long full-time career. In that, I have been successful. For the past 25 years, Ghislaine Maxwell has been free to live a life of wealth and privilege that is almost incomprehensible. Meanwhile, I have had virtually none of the life experiences I might have had we never met. For over 2.5 decades, I felt like I was in prison. She had her life. It's time to have mine. She needs to be in prison so her victims can all finally be free.
I have never heard my survivor sister Liz's story before, and it's just bear with me if I'm a little emotional. When I was a little girl, like so many others, I dreamed of one day meeting a prince. I imagined a prince as someone who rescues you from danger and darkness, someone who protects you and keeps you safe. We are taught to believe that those given titles, power, and positions of importance will rise to the responsibility that comes with them. But we know now that titles do not create character, and power does not create goodness, and a crown does not guarantee honor. As a young fashion model, I was taken by a boat to Little St. James, the private island owned by Jeffrey Epstein. There, I met Prince Andrew. Later that evening, I was sexually assaulted by Epstein. Needless to say, no prince protected me that day. I am now going to read a file about Andrew and Epstein discussing private time at Buckingham Palace. Sorry, this is Jeffrey's writing. I am just departing Scotland, should be down by 1800. I'll ring you when I get down if you can give me a number to ring. Alternatively, we could have dinner at Buckingham Palace and lots of privacy. Other powerful men, including Peter Mandelson, the British ambassador to the U.S., were elevated to positions of enormous influence, even while maintaining close ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Mandelson reportedly stayed at Epstein's home after Epstein had already been jailed for pedophilia. Yet, this relationship was treated as acceptable with elite political circles. That normalization of proximity to Epstein is part of the reason so many girls and young women were trafficked and abused. Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein operated for years under the protection, influence, and silence of some of the most powerful political and social figures in the world. Warning: disgusting correspondence between Peter Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey was asked, "How is Freedom feeling?" Jeffrey says, "She feels fresh, firm, and creamy." And Mandelson says, "Naughty boy." To every survivor in the UK, across Europe, and around the world, do not be afraid to come forward. You are not alone anymore. We now have support. We now have strength. And together our voices are far more powerful than the people who tried to silence us. Today I stand inside the Epstein Reading Room exhibit, surrounded by hundreds of books, files, testimonies, records, and documents, an overwhelming archive of evidence that demands investigation. Everywhere around me are the receipts of what happened, the names, the connections, the patterns, the silence, the protection that allowed these crimes to continue for years. That is why women no longer need to be afraid. The evidence exists. The truth exists. And the world is finally beginning to look directly at it. This is a turning point, a moment where ordinary people must educate themselves, ask difficult questions, refuse to look away simply because powerful names are involved, Justice becomes possible when the public is informed, courageous, and unwilling to accept silence as normal. I will now read the correspondence between Maxwell and Epstein regarding the contact in Scotland Yard Police. That's the headquarters of the Metropolitan Police Service. Any news from Scotland Yard? Ghislaine asks. Jeffrey says, this is a perfect opportunity for you to clear your name. I have asked Scotland Yard for info on your numbers. I have asked Scotland Yard for info on your numbers. Future generations will look back on this period of history and see it as one of the most barbaric and inhumane moral failures of our time. The protection and normalization of powerful men connected to the abuse and trafficking of children and young women. No matter your religion, where you come from, the color of your skin, your nationality, your beliefs, your background, there is something greater than all the things that divide us. We love our families. We love our children. And when the people who we love are in danger, we protect them. This is what unites humanity, not politics and not borders, not wealth and not power. Because every child matters, every boy matters, and every human being deserves protection and dignity. And if a child were being harmed in your neighborhood, your communities, they would come together to stop it immediately. We also call on every witness, victim, survivor, with knowledge of these crimes to do the right thing. May you find the courage to come forward and stand on the right side of history. This is going on for far too long. Powerful men believed they were untouchable. Now I'm going to read a file regarding Julian, a former Prince Andrew's protection officer. Jeffrey says to his secretary, the Duke's protection officer, Julian, is hoping the Duke and his officers could have a temporary code to get in and out of the house. That is why I'm asking communities everywhere, together, speak out, educate themselves, and help bring an end to this culture of silence and protection surrounding abuse. Ghislaine Maxwell lives in a comfortable prison after helping Jeffrey Epstein prey on and traffic vulnerable young girls, teenagers, and young women. This is a woman who reportedly dismissed the victims as trash, my survivor sisters as trash. This person should never be spoken about in the same sentence as compassion, redemption, or a pardon. These were not scandals. These were human lives, childhood stolen, and trauma carried for decades. The idea that someone convicted in one of the most horrific trafficking operations in modern history could be considered for mercy, while hundreds of my survivor sisters and brothers are still fighting to heal, is beyond disturbing. Accountability should never become negotiable when it comes to crimes against children. Now I'll read an email correspondence from former Prince Andrew to Epstein called Playtime. And we're in this together. Jeffrey says to the Duke, I'm just as concerned as you. Don't worry about me. I would seem we are in this together, and we'll have to rise above it. Let me know if you want to deal with J wages. Otherwise, keep in close touch, and we'll play some more soon. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. The despicable suggestion that Ghislaine Maxwell may be pardoned by the United States would have a devastating impact on survivors. Maxwell is a UK citizen. Maxwell is a UK citizen, and despite the vast amount of documented evidence connected to her and Epstein's child trafficking network, no criminal charges have ever been brought to her in the UK. I'm going to read a correspondence between the United Kingdom Metropolitan Police and United States Department of Justice. Hi, I just received the information below and wanted to forward it on to you. The female complainant, redacted. contacted the Metropolitan Police regarding Epstein and Maxwell. It is unclear whether or not she is located in Redacted, but the Met concurs with you reaching out to her directly. Below, she references a complaint she made to HSI, which is the Homeland Security Investigations in England, on the 6th of July, 2020. I have not queried HSI here about any report, but let me know if you need me to, or if you will handle on your end. Please let me know if you run into any issues or need any assistance. Thank you. So let this be the moment we stop asking why accountability has not happened and start demanding it. If millions of pages of evidence exists, then the UK and Europe must use that evidence to investigate not only Maxwell, but any affiliated co-conspirators who enabled, protected, or participated in these crimes. Warning. Now I'm going to read a deeply disturbing and heartbreaking testimony written by a young schoolgirl who had just given birth. A testimony so harrowing it resembles a horror scene from The Handmaid's Tale, starring Ghislaine Maxwell. Close your eyes, close your eyes, close your eyes. Don't speak. She doesn't talk. I cannot stop shaking, and it's been a week. A decision was made, but I can tell Jeffrey. A decision was made, but I can't tell Jeffrey. These things happen. Why didn't I close my eyes fast enough? The doctor was different again. I think from Israel. He had kind eyes, but didn't speak directly to me. This was different. A shot, and those rod-like things like a hook, and so much pain. Ghislaine said to push all the pain away. I don't understand. Blood and water all over the bed, and she was right. Like a feeling when your tummy hurts and you have to push. She said to close my eyes and put her hand over my eyes, but I didn't close them because of these tiny cries. I am so lost. I saw between her fingers this tiny head and body in the doctor's hands. It reached his tiny arm up and it had a tiny foot. I closed my eyes and no more. Cries. I closed my eyes and no more cries. I don't understand. Just say these things happen, but he doesn't believe that. They yelled and screamed when he said it will be the same in a couple months, and she said she was fed up with it all. I don't understand what is going on and no one will tell me. I can't go to school like this. I can't stop shaking. Why won't anyone make it stop? I know Ghislaine is trying, but nothing changes. Why didn't I close my eyes? In the hall, Ghislaine said she was beautiful. She was, not is. She was a beautiful girl. I heard her. What is she? Why did she stop whimpering? She was born, and I heard the tiny cries. I can't do this anymore. History will not remember what divided us. It will remember that people across the world came together and finally said no more. And finally, I'm going to quote King Charles' official statement when former Prince Andrew was arrested. What now follows is the full, fair, and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. The King of England said, "Let me state clearly, the law must take its course."
Hi, my name is Alva Johnson, and I stand here today representing the 27 other women who, my sisters, survivors of Donald J. Trump. In 2019, I publicly accused Donald J. Trump of sexual assault from an incident that happened in 2016. To my survivor sisters, we may be bruised, but we are not broken. Each of you are some of the most courageous, beautifully brilliant, and insanely brave women. We share triggers, we share fears, but we share an incredible amount of love. I'm going to read from a file. It's unclassified 31E. Sorry. I don't want to snot all on the live stream. 31E-NY-302-7571, serial 252. I'll read a little of the beginning, and I'm going to start towards the end. This is dated from August 22nd, 2019. Redacted. Date of birth, redacted. Advised the redacted high school yearbooks for redacted. She was a freshman. And redacted, she was a sophomore. Would have photographs of blank redacted at Epstein's at approximately 15 to 16 years old, closer to the time frame of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of redacted. I'm going to go right to a story that is described in this document. Redacted detailed a separate and possibly the sixth incident involving Epstein. When Redacted was approximately 15 years old, she went to a Rick James concert with her friend Redacted and Redacted's mother in Savannah, Georgia. Epstein was at the concert and surprised her. When Redacted saw Epstein, she knew she had to go with him. She recalled Epstein had a flask and got her drunk. She was also high on marijuana. He kept her isolated at the concert so long that Redacted and Redacted's mother left her and drove back to Redacted Island. They later told Redacted they looked for her for a long period of time. She stated that she imagined they were terrified when they could not find her. Redacted could not recall the entire evening. However, she knew that Epstein left her at some point, and she found herself walking around alone, high on marijuana. She kept thinking, how am I going to get back to the island? I've been left here. I have no way to get home. At some point, while she was walking around, the police picked her up. Redacted recalled thinking her mother was going to be pissed at her because she got her ears pierced. The police photographed her and kept her alone in a real jail cell. She could not remember whether they fingerprinted her or if she was formally arrested. She did recall that she ate really good fried chicken while in jail. At some point, her mother and brother, Redacted, picked her up and drove her home. Redacted recalled at least one incident in which Epstein took her off of the island when she was between 13 to 15 years old. He drove her or flew her to either New York or New Jersey. She was introduced to someone with money. It was Donald Trump. Redacted and Epstein were with others, to include Trump, in a very tall building with huge rooms. Trump did not like her from the get-go. He didn't like that I was a boy girl, referencing a tomboy. Redacted could not recall the identities of the other individuals present. However, they all exited when Trump asked everyone to leave the room. Trump mentioned something to the effect of, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be." Trump unzipped his pants and put Redacted's head down to his penis. Redacted bit the shit out of it. Trump struck and said words to the effect of, "Get this little bitch the hell out of here." Redacted advised she bit Trump's penis because he disgusted her. He had money. It reeked off of him. At that point, people re-entered the room. No further information provided. Redacted recalled a blonde, beautiful woman approaching her at some point that day after her interaction with Trump. The woman said, "Let me give you a tip, little girl, about your breasts. Wear a bra every night." Those words have stayed with her throughout the years. Redacted got the feeling the relationship between Epstein and Trump included a certain amount of jealousy. She thought Trump appeared jealous of Epstein, but at some point, they ended up on level playing fields. Trump and Epstein sometimes used the terms fresh meat, untainted, and not jaded while referring to girls. At the time she heard it, Redacted did not understand the term not jaded. She subsequently looked up the word jaded, stated she had 2 additional interactions with Trump, but she asked that the interview move on to a different subject for the time being. Redacted discussed an additional interaction with Epstein and his associates, whereas Epstein and the group brought acid. Epstein asked Redacted if she knew anything about acid. She replied that she did not. He asked her to try it first, then tell her friends where the party was going to be. Epstein gave Redacted some of the acid to give to her friends. She did not recall hearing about acid on the island before Epstein introduced it, but she recalled after he did, acid swept the island. Reflecting on the interactions she had with Epstein up to that point, advised that while she continued to be sexually abused by him, she began to feel like Epstein trusted her. The situation was still horrific, but she began to feel important. He knew she was keeping his secrets, specifically the things he said in front of her. On one occasion, Redacted asked Epstein why Epstein, does those things to me. Epstein responded by disclosing he had been molested as a child by a boy in his family and possibly his aunt. Redacted thought the boy was either an uncle or a cousin. He definitely mentioned abuse by both the male and female. Epstein was starting to say intimate things about himself he was sharing, and it began to make her feel like she had some of the power. She recalled thinking at the time, wow, this is the same asshole who is horrible. Epstein had 2 sides to his personality. Looking back on the situation now, Redacted stated Epstein was probably grooming me. Redacted got super fascinated in the sexual acts that involved Epstein being submissive to Redacted. She felt relieved to be the one not being abused. Redacted recalled they did not mix the sexual abuse, meaning the interactions wherein Epstein physically abused Redacted were separate interactions than those that involved Epstein being submissive to Redacted. Every time they entered a bedroom, sexual abuse of some sort was involved, and in general, every interaction included sexual abuse. The one exception was the concert in Georgia, detailed above. Even though Epstein was alone at the concert, they did not have a place where he could engage in sexual activity with her. When asked whether Epstein had any notable sexual fetishes, Redacted advised he liked having little rubber things put into his anus, and he had her do it. Redacted recalled inserting a pencil, a big eraser, a little rubber thing, and a water bottle tube into Epstein's anus for his sexual gratification. Epstein liked to be violated and dominated. He wanted her to take control. She recalled he turned into a different personality, and since it was her first time experiencing that type of sexual behavior, she did not know what to do. Epstein liked her to use kitchen oil instead of sexual lubricant when she put things in his butt. Epstein told Redacted that when he was younger, he could contort his body so that he could almost put his penis in his mouth. She asked him to show her, and he tried, but was unsuccessful. Redacted was asked whether Epstein ever asked her to engage in threesomes, orgies. Epstein always wanted Redacted to bring her friend, however, it never happened. Epstein spoke another language around Redacted once in a while. She believed the language may have been Hebrew. At this point in the interview, Redacted imitated the sound of the language. She recalled Epstein speaking, indicating it, including a throat-clearing guttural sound. She was unaware whether Epstein was Jewish. She knew the language he spoke was not Italian. Epstein talked about blackmailing people in front of Redacted. Redacted was confident Trump knew Epstein blackmailed people because she heard Epstein and Trump talking about it. Redacted stated she knew Trump had illegal building permits. She heard him, Trump, talking about washing money through casinos. Number 6 is Donald Trump's favorite number. Redacted was not sure how she knew that, but she heard it at one point. Redacted stated that Epstein's blackmailing of her mother ruined her family. Redacted asked the agents to keep her safe, stating, "Throughout my life, Epstein's people have found me, have kept tabs on me." May we not forget that as the Epstein survivors seek justice, it's justice for all survivors. There are people that are still afraid to say things to this day. And so when we publicly speak out, it's not easy, but we do it for other little girls. We do it for other women. We do it to create the energy of courage so that other people understand that this is something that happens far too often in far too many circles. It's weird to feel like you end up here because you never expected that. But I stand here with the removal of shame. I do not bear the shame. The shame belongs to the predator that is running this country. The shame belongs to those who continue to vote for him. The shame belongs to those of you who voted for him even when my other sisters were warning you that this man was a rapist, allegedly sexually assaulted them. We have had ample warnings as to who he is, and now we are watching him loot the country without a ski mask. And so as you listen to the rest of us, as you listen to the rest of these women, support survivors, believe survivors, hire survivors, elect survivors into Congress, into elected office. And for those of you who are survivors who feel alone in this world, we understand how that feels. And please understand that you are not alone. The shame does not belong to you. It belongs to those who violate. I don't even think that's 10 minutes, but I am done.
Hello, everyone. I stand before you today as Marina Lacerda, also known as Minor Victim 1, but more importantly, as a mother determined to turn pain into purpose. When we see the failures of justice, like those of the DOJ, we must have the courage to face every allegation, even those against our president. Over time, I have watched many of these allegations and files slowly fade away from the public. And I stand here today to bring the attention back, because these allegations and these heinous crimes deserve to be fully investigated, no matter who is involved or how powerful they may be. As I read them today, I ask us all to remember these voices, these files demand action. Behind every file is a human being. Behind every page is pain. And behind every silence is a system that has failed too many people for too long. We owe it to every survivor, to our children, and to a future where silence is no longer an option. So I will continue to read what Elva has begun. This is file, unclassified, filed EFTA 00057759. The interviewing agents asked redaction to provide additional details regarding her first interaction with Donald Trump when she was approximately 13 to 15 years old in either New York or New Jersey, while also in the company of Jeffrey Epstein. Redacted, classified that when she previously said Trump struck her after she bit him on the penis, she provided further details that he pulled her hair and punched her on the side of her head. With respect to redacted mother, redact, deceased, redact, recalled her mother spent approximately 2 years in federal prison in Colombia, South America, around the time. Redacted was 17 or 18 years old. Redacted. Mother's sentence was related to an embezzled conviction connected to being blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein and Jim Atkins over explicit photographs of Redacted. Redacted asked whether Epstein had a sibling. An investigating agent inquired us to what made her think he had a sibling. Redacted replied she recalled that there was a man, possibly a brother of Epstein's, that she recalled from the past. Since the sexual assaults Redacted suffered at the hands of Epstein and his associates, Redacted was threatened on numerous occasions by unidentified people she believed were connected to Epstein. Redacted. Mother was also threatened on numerous occasions prior to her death. The first incident, Redacted, could recall occurred in approximately Redacted when Redacted was 16 to 17 years old. Redacted was living in suburb in South Carolina at the time. Redacted, mother had been arrested for embezzlement and could not pay the restitution. Redacted called Atkins and at the university where he worked, unidentified, to ask him for help. She recalled she asked him why he fixed her mother's real estate books, only to later turn to her mother to the police. Atkins responded to Redacted by stating words to the effect that he did not give a shit if you end up in the gutter. Don't ever contact me again. Your mother knows what will happen. Redacted recalled threatening telephone calls primarily began to occur. Redacted gave birth to her daughter in Redacted. Several calls listed as no ID on her caller system were made to Redacted telephone. The voicemail content primarily included only noises. However, during one call, a man unidentified stated, "Fuck you. You better keep your mouth closed." The man subsequently hung up. Redacted was threatened sometimes every 2 years, then at random times. Redacted never recognized the voices during the telephone calls, but she was certain the callers were Epstein, Atkins, or Trump. The callers did not have heavy New York accents. She clarified that Epstein did not have a heavy New York accent in general. However, he said certain words with an accent. In approximately Redacted, mother field threat calls as well made by individuals, telling her to leave the island. Redacted. Mother was most likely also threatened in person. However, Redacted mother's previous husbands, Redacted, also received at least one threatening call at some point. No further information. The last call, redacted, characterized as threatening, occurred in approximately December or January, redacted, while redacted was working at redacted. A coworker received a message on their work landline that was intended for redacted. So I'm going to stop right there because a lot of this is mainly redacted. As we have said before, there's unnecessary redactions here, right? And I just want to remind everyone, once we were only considered allegations. Then we became hopes. And now we stand as real stories. Let us keep in mind that these allegations, can be true. And they deserve full investigations. Only then can we bring light to the truth and amplify the voices as they deserve. Thank you.
My name is Andrea Sterling, and I'm a Jeffrey Epstein survivor. I was brought to Jeffrey Epstein when I was a teenager, living in Queens, New York, in the early 2000s, when he sexually assaulted me. What I'm about to read is a lawsuit from the United States of America to Jeffrey Epstein. United States of America versus Jeffrey Epstein. As set forth herein, over the course of many years, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, sexually exploited and abused dozens of minor girls at his homes in Manhattan, New York, and Palm Beach, Florida, among other locations. In particular, from at least in or about 2002 up to and including at least in or about 2005, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, enticed and recruited and caused to be enticed and recruited minor girls to visit his mansion in Manhattan, New York, the New York residence, and his estate in Palm Beach, Florida, the Palm Beach residence, to engage in sex acts with him, after which he would give the victims hundreds of dollars in cash. Moreover, and in order to maintain and increase his supply of victims, Epstein also paid certain of his victims to recruit additional minor girls to be similarly abused by Epstein. In this way, Epstein created a vast network of underage victims for him to sexually exploit off and on a daily basis in locations including New York and Palm Beach. 3. The victims described herein were as young as 14 years old at the time they were abused by Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, and were, for various reasons, often particularly vulnerable to exploitation. Moreover, Epstein, who intentionally sought out minors, knew that many of victims were in fact under the age of 18, including because in some instances, victims expressly told him that they were underage. In creating and maintaining this network of minor victims in multiple states to sexually abuse and exploit Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, worked with others, including employees and associates, who facilitated this conduct, among other things, contacting victims and scheduling their sexual encounters with Epstein at the New York residence and at the Palm Beach residence. Factual background. During all the time periods charged in this indictment, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, was a financier with multiple residences in the continental United States, including the New York residence and Palm Beach residence. Beginning of at least 2002, Jeffrey, the defendant, enticed and recruited and caused to be enticed, recruited dozens of minor girls to engage in sex acts with him, after which Epstein paid the victims hundreds of dollars. At all times relevant to this indictment, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, possessed and controlled a multi-story private residence. This seems... Just give me a second. In particular, certain recruiters brought dozens of additional minor girls to the New York residence to give massages to and engage in sex acts with Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant. Epstein encouraged victims to recruit additional minor girls by offering to pay these victim recruiters for every additional minor girl they brought to the Epstein to be sexually abused. When a victim recruited a new minor victim to New York residence to be exploited by Epstein, both the victim recruiter and the minor victim were paid hundreds of dollars by Epstein by each encounter. In addition, certain victim recruiters routinely scheduled these encounters to employee one, who sometimes asked the recruiters to bring a specific minor girl for Epstein. In addition to recruiting and abusing minor girls in New York, the defendant created a similar network of minor girls to victimize in Palm Beach, Florida, where Epstein owned, possessed, and controlled another large residence. Epstein frequently traveled from New York to Palm Beach in a private jet, including occasions in which an employee or associate would endure the minor victims were available for encounters upon his return to Florida. At the Palm Beach residence, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, engaged in similar course of abusive conduct. When a victim initially arrived at the Palm Beach residence, she would be escorted to a room, sometimes by an employee of Epstein's, including at the times 2 assistants, who, as described herein, were also responsible for scheduling the sexual encounters with minor victims. Once inside, the victim would provide a nude or semi-nude massage for Epstein, who would himself typically be naked. During these encounters, Epstein would escalate the nature and scope of the physical contact to include sex acts such as groping and direct and indirect contact with the victim's genitals. Epstein would also typically masturbate during these encounters, ask victims to touch him while he masturbated, and touch victims' genitals with his hands or with sex toys. In connection with each sexual encounter, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, or one of his employees or associates paid the victim in cash. Victims typically were paid hundreds of dollars for each encounter. Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, knew that certain of his victims were underage. The defendant, who during the relevant time period was frequently in New York, would arrange for employee 2 or other employees to contact victims by phone in advance of Epstein's return to Florida, to ensure appointments were scheduled for when he arrived. In particular, in certain instances, employee 2 placed phone calls to minor victims in Florida to schedule encounters at the Palm Beach residence. At the time of certain of those phone calls, Epstein and employee 2 were in New York. Additionally, certain of the individuals victimized at the Palm Beach residence were contacted by phone by employee 3 to schedule these encounters. From at least in or about 2002 up to and including 2005, in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, and others known, unknown, willfully and knowingly did combine, conspire, confederate, and agree together and with each other to commit an offense against the United States, to wit, sex trafficking of minors in violation of Title 18 United States Code, Section 1591. It was a part and object of the conspiracy that Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, and others known and unknown would and did in an affecting interstate and foreign commerce recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, and obtain by any means a person, and to benefit financially and by receiving anything of value from participation in a venture which has engaged in any such act, knowing that the person had not attained the age of 18 and will be caused to engage in a commercial sex act in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 1591. In furtherance of the conspiracy and to effect the illegal object, therefore, the following over acts, among others, were committed in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere. In about 2004, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, enticed and recruited multiple victims. In about 2002, minor victim 1 was recruited to engage in sex acts with Epstein and was repeatedly sexually abused by Epstein at the New York residence over a period of years and was paid hundreds of dollars for each encounter. Epstein also encouraged and enticed minor victim 1 to recruit other girls to engage in sex acts, which she did, and was paid hundreds of dollars for each additional girl she brought to Epstein. Epstein asked minor victim how old she was, and minor victim answered truthfully. In or about 2004, employee number 1, located in the Southern District of New York, and on behalf of Epstein, placed a telephone call to minor victim 1 in order to schedule an appointment for minor victim 1 to engage in paid sex acts with Epstein. In about 2005, employee 2 located in the Southern District of New York, and on behalf of Epstein, placed a telephone call to minor victim 2 in order to schedule an appointment for minor victim 2 to engage in paid sex acts with Epstein at the Palm Beach residence. About 2005, minor victim 3 was recruited to engage in sex acts with Epstein and was repeatedly sexually abused by Epstein at the Palm Beach residence over a period of years and was paid hundreds of dollars for each encounter. Epstein also encouraged and enticed minor victim 2 to recruit other girls to engage in sex acts, which she did, and was paid for each additional girl she brought to Epstein. From at least in or about 2002 up to including 2005 in the Southern District of New York, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, willfully and knowingly in an affecting interstate and foreign commerce, did recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, and obtain by any means a person, knowing that the person had not attained the age of 18 years and would be caused to engage in commercial sex act. As a result of committing the offense alleged in Court 2 of this indictment, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, shall forfeit to the United States, pursuant to Title 18, United States Code Section 1594, any property real and personal that was used or intended to be used to commit or to facilitate the commission of the offense alleged in Count 1, and any property, real and personal, constituted or derived from any proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of the offense alleged in Count 1, or any property traceable to such property and the following specific property. A, the lot or parcel of land together with buildings, appurtenances, improvements, fixtures, attachments, and easements, located at 9th Street, 71st Street, New York, with block number 1386 and a lot number 10, owned by Maple Incorporation. Substitute asset provision. This is the final page. If any of the above described forfeitable property as a result of any act of omission of the defendant, A, cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence. B, has been transferred or sold to or deposited with a third person. C, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court. D, has been substantially diminished in value. Or E, has been commingled with other property which cannot be subdivided without difficulty. It is the intent of the United States pursuant to 18 U.S.C. to seek forfeiture of any other property of the defendant up to the value of the above forfeitable property. That's it.
So before I bring in our next and last guests, I just have to stop and say thank you to the survivors who just shared their stories with us. Liz, Lisa, Marina, Alva, Andrea, what you did takes a kind of courage most people will never be able to summon. You stood in front of cameras, in front of strangers, and you told the truth about the worst things that have ever happened to you. And you did it so that other survivors watching at home know they are not alone. And so the people who hurt you and the systems that protected them can't pretend anymore. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for trusting us with your stories. Ready? We are now joined by the family of Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre, who is sadly gone too soon. I want to take a moment before I bring them in because Virginia is a huge reason that we have been here reading for the last 24 hours and why this is public at all. In 2011, Virginia bravely stepped forward to tell her story that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked her to Britain's Prince Andrew when she was just a teenager. She did that at a time when almost no one believed survivors. She did it knowing that she would be called a liar. She did it knowing the full machinery of wealth, royalty, and political influence would be aimed at her, and she did it anyway. Virginia sued Prince Andrew and forced a settlement that ended his public life as a working royal. She named names when no one else would, and sat for depositions, gave interviews, and wrote a book. She kept telling the truth, even when it cost her everything. Every name in those files that the public knows today, every flight log that became evidence, every sealed document that became unsealed, traces back in some way to her refusal to stay quiet. Virginia is not here to see this moment. That is a loss I do not have the words for. But her family is here. They have carried her fight forward, and they are continuing to demand the accountability that she spent her life fighting for. Joining me now are her brother, Sky Roberts, and his wife, Amanda Roberts. Sky and Amanda, I can't thank you enough for being here. Thank you for honoring Virginia continuously. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for everything your family continues to do to keep her voice in this fight.
Hi, everyone. I didn't think this was going to be as hard. It doesn't hit you till you do it, I guess. My name is Sky Roberts, and I am the younger brother of Virginia Roberts Giuffre, and this is my wife, Amanda Roberts. As we come to the final moments of the reading of the files, we want to pause and honor the woman who helped make this possible. Virginia Roberts Giuffre. I often called my sister a superhero because to me, she truly was. I used to tell her that real superheroes don't wear capes. They wear their scars in courage. They carry resilience where others would collapse and determination far beyond what most people believe is possible. Today, I want to extend that same tribute to her survivor sisters, many of whom you have heard from over the past 24 hours. These women are not only survivors, they are heroes standing on the right side of history. So Danny Bensky, Charlene Richard, Jenna Lisa Jones, Marika Shertuni, Jess Michaels, Liz Stein, Lisa Phillips, Alva Johnson, Andrea Sterling, and Marina Lacerda, you are heroes. And to those who cannot be here today, whose voices still echo through every page of the files, Rosa, Wendy Avis, Anushka DeGiorgio, Shantae Davies, Courtney Wild, Jane Doe 1 through 1200, and of course, Annie Farmer, Maria Farmer, and Virginia Roberts Giuffre, you are true American heroes. And more than that, you are heroes to the world. To every survivor of sexual abuse, domestic violence, and exploitation, whether your pain has been spoken aloud or carried silent for years, know this: you are not defined by what was done to you. Your survival is an act of courage. Your voice matters and your truth matters. And through your strength, we are teaching the next generation something powerful, that vulnerability is not weakness, and resilience is not surrender. It is the courage to keep standing even after the unimaginable. And to Todd Blanche and any administration that continues to claim there are no investigative leads, I want to remind you of something important. The truth has always been here. The survivors have always been here. The evidence has always been here. You only need the courage to listen. Let me now read from Virginia's deposition in her defamation case against Alan Dershowitz. Plaintiff versus Alan M. Dershowitz, Saturday, January 16th, 2016. File number EFTA 027-86320. It is a minor discrepancy, but I think you read it as when she was a minor, and it's while she was a minor. While she was a minor, do you see where I'm reading starting in the third line? Yes. Is that allegation true? Yes. If you go to page 6 of the document, do you see the paragraph that starts Epstein also trafficked? Yes. It says Epstein also trafficked Jane Doe number 3 for sexual purposes to many other powerful men, including numerous prominent American politicians, powerful business executives, foreign presidents, a well-known prime minister, and other world leaders. Do you see that? Yes. Is that allegation true? Yes. Okay. A well-known prime minister. Were you sexually trafficked to a well-known prime minister? Yes. Who was that? Miss McCauley. I'm going to object to this line of questioning. This has to do with the safety concerns for her. Miss Borgia, counsel, this is under seal. You can answer. Miss McCauley, no, she's not going to answer. Let me make my objection. Regardless of it being under seal, we've seen that in this case, the client that you represent has violated confidentiality orders regularly. So we have no sense of security with the sense that this is a confidential record at this point. We are doing that under the court's order. With respect to naming individuals who can harm a victim of sexual trafficking, she's a non-party in this action, not a plaintiff. She is not going to be revealing any names today of any individual who is going to harm her physically, period. If we have to go to Judge Redacted on that, we will. I'm happy to do that, but she's not going to be naming individuals where there's a threat to her safety. It is under seal. I am shocked that counsel would suggest that a prime minister is threatening the physical safety of this witness. There's no foundation for that. The suggestion that a foreign minister is going to physically harm has no evidence in this case, and it's going to be under seal. Let's get the evidence out while the witness is here. As you pointed out, she's a non-party. Let's make our record and move on. Redacted, be shocked by that, but redacted, hang on one second. The reason why I'm here is so we don't have the back and forth. Sure. I'm going to rule on the objection. Your objection at this point is overruled. The witness. If I can just say, I personally know that this is not a good person to talk about, and I'm not going to point blank. I'm not going to say his name. Okay, I can't twist her arm and force her, so we'll deal with it. By Miss Borgia. Okay. Other world leaders. What other world leaders were you sexually trafficked to? Miss McCauley. We have the same objection, special redacted, and I would have the same ruling based upon the arguments. Let me just make my record to the extent that there's a name of an individual that you can reveal that you do not feel would physically harm you. You're welcome to reveal them. Anybody else, you don't have to reveal at this time, and we'll take that to Judge Redacted. Okay. Prince Andrew for one. Other than Prince Andrew, there is another individual that I honestly do not know his name. What powerful business executives were you sexually trafficked to? Redacted Mitchell. When were you sexually trafficked to Redacted Mitchell? I am unable to give you time since we are going back a very long time ago. Tell me the best that you can remember. Roughly when I was 17. Where were you? New Mexico and New York. Are there witnesses to this? Not to the actual event itself. What other powerful business executives were you sexually trafficked to? Redacted. Are there witnesses besides Epstein instructing me to do so? What other powerful business executives you were sexually trafficked to? Yes, I know what you're saying. Miss McCauley, take your time, take a deep breath. Redacted. Who else? Miss McCauley, to the extent you can recall. Answer. I'm just trying to think. This is all very confronting to me. So at the same token, I'm just trying to recollect everybody. Heavy redact. You said redacted. Were you sexually trafficked to more than one redacted? No. Just two redacted. Just two redacted. Heavy redacted. Yes. What other powerful business executives were you sexually trafficked to? None that I can remember off the top of my head. Was redacted one of the powerful business executives that you were trafficked to? Yes. So you can remember others. Who else is there? Miss McCauley. I'm going to object to that. That's inappropriate. She gave you everyone she could remember at the time where you mentioned the name. Special redacted. Okay. Please move on without. You also referred to prominent American politicians. What prominent American politicians, other than the ones you've already named, were you sexually trafficked to? The ones I just told you about. Heavy redacted. How many times were you trafficked to? Heavy redacted. I don't know. Over 2 times. How old were you? Approximately 17, 18. Are you sure you were underage during one of those incidents? I can't be 100% sure of anything. It's not like I recorded the dates. I'm just giving you an approximation. How many times were you sexually trafficked to? Redacted. Twice that I can recall. Were you underage during either of those? I believe so, both of them. I can't be 100% sure. When were you sexually trafficked to with redacted? Were you underage? Not by redacted standards. You weren't redacted, were you? You were in the south of France. Which, Miss McCauley, which redacted? You need to clarify. Redacted, sorry. I believe I would have been 17. I don't know what their age. Miss McCauley, you don't have to know. You don't have to know anything legal, just the question the best you can. So how old were you when you were sexually trafficked to? Redacted. I don't know. What is your best guess? I'm not going to speculate. How many times did you have sex with? Redacted. Once. How many times did you have sex with? Redacted. Multiple. What's the approximate range of number? More than 3. Answer, more than 3. Question, more than 5. Answer, possibly. More than 10? No. Did redacted ask you to wear any particular clothing during your sexual trafficking? This case is about the defamation between Paul Castle and Brad Redacted and Mr. Dershowitz. It's not about the individuals other than Mr. Dershowitz, who is the individual here, who the judge said, we're here to talk about the issues in this case, not the litany of the other individuals. Counsel, we have limited time. Special, redacted, hang on. As you can see, it's no longer a question about whether the names exist. It's a question whether or not our DOJ and our Congress is going to do something about it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my wife, Amanda Roberts. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone who has made this event and reading room possible. This room is not for headlines or spectacle. It is a symbol of survivors reclaiming their stories and a reminder of the government's failure to deliver justice. For decades, survivors have carried this burden alone. Virginia stood up to the rich and powerful and told the truth. She was a superhero without a cape, using her scars to help others find their voice. Today, we carry that legacy forward. I'm going to read from the deposition with Virginia Roberts Giuffre, defamation against Ghislaine Maxwell, May 3rd, 2016. Now, this document I'm holding in my hands is only 2 pages of a 3-hour deposition that was originally released in the reading library, and now only 2 pages are available. Think. I met Prince Andrew in 2001, and Glenn Redacted and Stephen Kaufman were, like I said, the first people I was sent out to after my training. So I don't know. I'm not going to give you an exact time if I don't know. Question. I asked you the relative order. Answer. And I'm trying to give it to you. Question. Where does Alan Dershowitz fit into that group of people? Answer. Same. I can't tell you piece by piece by piece. Who? I know Glenn Redacted was first. Question. Okay. Answer. And I know Stephen Kaufman was one of the first I was sent to. Alan Dershowitz could have been between Glenn and Stephen. The first time I was with Alan Dershowitz was in New York. So I wasn't actually sent to him. It actually happened at one of Jeffrey's residences. Answer. So it's very hard for me to chronologically give you each person individually. Question. Okay. Name the other politically connected and financially powerful people that Ghislaine Maxwell told you to have sex with. Answer. Again, I'm going to tell you they, because that is how it went. They instructed me to go to Redacted Mitchell, John Luke Brunel, Bill Redacted, another prince that I don't know his name, a guy that owns a hotel, a really large hotel chain. I can't remember which hotel. It was Marvin Minsky. There was, another foreign president. I can't remember his name. He was Spanish. There's a whole bunch of them that it's hard for me to remember all of them. I was told to do something by these people constantly, told to my whole life, revolved around just pleasing these men and keeping Ghislaine and Jeffrey happy. Their whole entire lives revolved around sex. They called massages sex. They call modeling sex. They call question. I asked you the names for people. Are you going to tell me any other names, or is that all of them? Answer. I'm trying to think. That's the answer I'm trying to give you. It's that it's so hard to just keep naming and naming and naming. Question. All right. Answer. A lot of the time I would be introduced to them. I don't know. Now that we have bared witness, what are we going to do about these stories? What are we going to do about the millions of files, the millions investigative leads and evidence that sits on these shelves and still sits behind the desk of the Department of Justice today? We will demand many things because we, the people, have the power. This Department of Justice must reopen the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and every alleged enabler, participant, and predator connected to this network. Every file is a lead. Survivors have done their part. Now the government must do its job and release every file required by law. And if this Department of Justice refuses to do their job, we are looking to each individual state. New Mexico has led the way by reopening state investigations, and we hope that New York and Florida are ready to do the same. There must be absolutely no pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell, no special treatment, no backroom deals, no escape from accountability. It is clear through every single file, Ghislaine Maxwell was not a victim. We demand truth, transparency, and laws that protect survivors, not predators or the powerful. To every survivor, this shame is not yours to carry, it is theirs. We see you, we believe you, and we will keep fighting until justice is served. Thank you. We see you, we believe you, and we will keep fighting until justice is served. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sky and Amanda. We are all so unbelievably grateful for you. So we have been here live for over 24 hours, but 24 hours is nothing compared to what the survivors in these files have carried for decades. It is nothing compared to what Virginia carried until the day she died. It is nothing compared to what the women you've heard from over the last 24 hours still carry every single day. But for 24 hours, we read these files. We read names out loud, we read flight logs and messages and emails, and we refused to let it slip back into the dark. When I first started talking about Jeffrey Epstein getting special treatment back in 2018, when Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance was handling his sex offender registration case and asking a judge to downgrade him, I never would have imagined that we would see these files. I thought this was going to be one more story where powerful men protected each other and the paperwork stayed sealed and the rest of us were told to move on. And yet here we are. Millions of pages, names, flight logs, communications, evidence that should have been public years ago that was buried by people who knew exactly what was in it. And that is thanks to these women standing beside me. Thank you for watching this special live presentation, Cover to Cover Up. These readings and this testimony may have been hard for so many to hear, but we all have to face this ugliness head on. We can't bury our heads in the sand about what these files say and who they implicate. Thank you to all of the survivors. Thank you to Sky and Amanda Roberts. Thank you to every survivor whose name we read and to every survivor whose names we don't know. You are why we were here. And thank you to everyone who showed up for this stream and listened to these stories here in the US and all over the world. We saw messages of support pouring in from Spain, France, Germany, Canada, Switzerland, and more. Everyone who read, everyone who watched at 3 a.m., everyone who shared a clip, everyone who sat with the hardest parts of this and did not look away. Thank you to all close to 60 readers who joined me for being part of this. Thank you for standing with these survivors. Everyone, please, I would ask you to scan the QR code on your screen to donate to World Without Exploitation, the country's largest national coalition dedicated to ending the commercial sexual exploitation of children and adults online and offline. This is where the work continues after these cameras turn off. These files are out, but it's not all of them. The work is not done. We have some of the receipts and we need to use them. We need to keep asking who knew, who covered, who's still in power, and why. We don't let this go. We continue to fight until there is justice for all. I'm Eliza Orlins, and on behalf of Save America Movement and the Institute for Primary Facts, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for listening, and thank you especially to all of the survivors. Thank you. You're all amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.